I am back with a motocross legend, a guy who's been around the world, guy who's rode for several teams, who has rode with the best of them during his time period. We got moto legend Mike Healey on the show. How you doing today, Mike?
Doing good, buddy. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. I thank you for coming on the Blacklisted and Max, man. It's a pleasure having you. I'm glad I finally got you on the show. You know, my boy, our boy Chuck hooked it up.
Yeah, Chuckles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
call him Chuckles and see how he acts.
Yeah,
This
all right, I'll
lifted up
definitely
guy.
do that. But man, let's take it back a little bit. What was racing like for you back in the days, like racing iconic tracks like Saddleback and Carlsbad?
Those are the tracks that basically I cut my teeth on. Um, I was lucky enough to grow up in Orange County, which had tracks all around us. I mean, a far track for us to go riding was Carlsbad, and that was like 45 minutes away. And I grew up learning how to ride a track that wasn't ever watered or ever graded. Carlsbad, they graded the track once a year. And that's when they had the USGP. They watered it every Saturday morning, I think, just for Saturday motocross. And that was it. Maybe Sunday morning if CMC was there. But
Damn,
they only graded once a year.
damn. So
Um,
all the tracks you were like, that track was hella beat up and rough back
oh,
then.
bad, bad, real bad. I mean, the uphill was rougher than the downhill.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
because you had to accelerate harder to get up it. And
Yeah.
same thing with Saddleback. Saddleback, they would grade the track, but they did it with the round rotary graders, and it left just dirt clods that were 2 feet big, like
Mhm.
round like rocks. And then they would just water the track once Saturday morning, and then they regraded after Saturday racing for Sunday, and then they wouldn't touch it for the whole rest of the week. So
Damn.
literally, it got graded twice a week. Saturday morning or Friday night or Saturday morning, and then Sunday, for the race. And watered. The last time they watered it was Sunday morning before practice. They would just flood the shit out of it, and
Really?
they would put like the 80 experts out with the big bikes. And I mean, the big bikes were having trouble getting around the track, you know.
Mhm.
And then I get out there on my 80 or my super mini, and fuck, you can barely get around the track. They're like pushing with your feet through the mud and stuff. And so, but it made us men. It made us tough.
Yeah, it made you a solid rider at the same time, and it helped you develop and hone your skills as you got faster along those lines too, as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we the era that I grew up in, it was if you weren't a tough person to be out there on the track and deal with it and get it done, then you just didn't deserve to be out there.
Hmm.
And we were brought up to race to win regardless. If the bike's broken or something, you run it until it doesn't run no more.
Yeah.
If you break a nail or get a hangnail or something, you don't stop.
Hmm.
I can't count how many races I rode or raced that I had broken bones,
Yeah.
and things like that. And the kids today just aren't tough like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to say they are a little pampered and spoiled these days when it comes to moto.
And they deserve it. I mean, the sport has progressed a lot,
Yes.
and they deserve to be pampered and spoiled a little bit, but they're taking it the wrong way.
Hmm.
I think they need to take this pampering and spoiling stuff, and they need to form like a union or something.
Okay.
And they need to get together, and instead of pampering and spoiling them one person, themselves, they need to get together and hold together. Like, say, like, look at a golfer. How many golfers show up there in the beginning of the week to qualify, at a golf tournament?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thousands of people show up to play golf, and only 40 play.
Yeah.
Well, how many show up at a Supercross, and how many make the main?
Exactly.
Okay, now if out of the 20 guys that make the main, if it were to start downpouring before the race, and everyone went, dude, we're not racing because it's too muddy, it's dangerous. Lights are getting all shady and shit, and
Hmm.
no, this isn't smart. We're not going to race. There's always going to be that one guy that's off in the back that's going to go, well, shit, you guys aren't going to race. I'm racing. I'm going to get all the money
No. Yeah.
because the motocrossers won't stick together.
Nah. Yeah.
If the motocrossers would trust each other and
Hmm.
stick together, we could have our own union. We
Yeah.
could have our own deal and trust each other. And when one guy says, "Hey, I feel this is unsafe," you know,
Hmm.
and everybody stand up for it, it'd be a different world in motocross.
Yeah, yeah, that's something that's for these guys to really consider and think about. I don't know if that's something that's ever been brought to the table before by any of these motocross riders or teams, but it's a damn good idea.
Well,
Long as
I think
you
a
know
lot
how
of
unions.
people, I think a
Go ahead.
lot of people have brought it to the table,
Hmm.
but I think there's the groups like AMA and stuff that shoot it down really quick.
Okay.
They're real money hungry and stuff, and
Mm.
they shoot it down real quick.
Okay.
We stood together at one race when I was racing over in Europe in '91. We all stood together, and probably 10 guys went to the hospital on Saturday for qualification day,
Damn.
and I was one of them. And
Damn.
I came back and still qualified and all that stuff, and actually won a moto that weekend. But we all stood together. Sunday morning came up, and finally everyone just stood there on the face of a jump and just said, "If you don't fix this, it already took 10 top guys out. If you don't fix
Mhm.
it, we're just not going to ride.
Yeah.
We're all going to just put our bikes back in the truck."
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was hard for me because I was right at that level in points. I was
Hmm.
right there where if I would have raced and take 1 or 2 points, I was in third place in points.
Okay.
If I stood with everybody and didn't take any points, then I stayed in fourth and I was 20 points back.
Yeah.
So like I'm juggling the dice.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
But I stood there right there with everybody else,
Hmm.
and said, "No, we're not going to race.
That's
I'm with
good.
them. We
Yeah.
have to stand up sometime and for our brothers, and I'm with them."
Yeah. Nowadays, these guys are on these contracts, man. They gotta do what the contract says. Anything outside of that contract, and there puts them at risk, and that's kind of the shitty part of the sport sometimes because these guys get some of these bad contracts, and they're kind of forced to stay in them for a while, and they can only do what the contract says they can do. You know.
Yeah, I know that one too. So the contract
Mhm.
will bite you in the ass if you're not careful.
Yeah, exactly.
And
But how was it?
that's what lawyers are for, though.
Oh,
You,
yeah.
you pay you pay a lawyer to take care of that and do all that for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
If you're at that level in the sport and you're making that kind of money, you have your lawyers, you have your attorneys, you have all that stuff already by your side,
Yes.
and you should be
Yes.
coming into the races like a baseball player comes to the game or a basketball player comes to the game.
Mhm.
In your suit and tie and driving up in a nice car, not a lower pickup truck, and in your Dickies or something. We're
Man.
not a thug sport.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
we are the most dangerous sport in the world.
Yeah. Oh,
We
yeah.
really are. We're
Oh, I
the
totally
we're the
agree.
one sport that every time we put our leg over our bike, we could die.
Oh, yeah. You're
There's
risking
not
it.
another sport out there like that.
No, no, no.
Every time, whether we go practicing or we just go down the street testing. Well, now I can't test jetting no more. We got 4 strokes.
Hmm.
But back in the day, every time you just got on the bike to test jetting,
Yeah.
who knows what could
Oh, yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
I bet, where you're testing jetting and the throttle cable snapped and pinned it wide open on me.
Damn.
And
Damn.
it had to jump off the back of the bike because there was a big old, chain going across blocking
Hmm.
like driveway.
Oh, wow. Damn.
I
How
didn't
was it
expect
like?
to. What?
Go
Go ahead.
ahead. Go
No, no,
ahead.
no, go. Go.
No, how was it like as an amateur and you're going through these stages and you finally got a ride with the Suzuki R&D team. How did that start to shape your career riding for that team at a young age? Because they were one of those elite teams that everybody looked at and wanted to be part of during that time period.
I I was with R&D Suzuki team from probably the time that I was 6 or 7 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I started racing at 3.5.
Okay.
So I basically was born and raised on a bike.
Mm-hmm.
I was racing before I ever got on a BMX bike,
Hmm.
and I was kind of taken under the wing from Rudy and Dean and Ida and them, the R&D family, and because I was banging bars with little Glenny, who is Dean's younger brother.
Okay.
He's the young son of R&D.
Okay.
Because there's Rudy, who was the dad, who passed away a few years back, and then Dean, who was the oldest son, which was Mr. Friggin' Intelligence. This guy is Einstein.
Mhm.
when it comes to motors and stuff.
Mhm.
And then Glennie, who was the youngest son, was the racer, and then Ida was the mom and stuff, and that was the
Mhm.
R&D family.
Oh,
And I honestly think I spent more time at their house up in Norwalk than I did at my own house.
oh wow.
Because if I wasn't there hanging out with them, going practicing and stuff with them, I was there with my dad working on bikes.
Mhm.
So I mean, they were basically second parents to me. So it wasn't anything big to me to be part of that team. I kind of knew I was there. I knew I was family.
Okay.
Um, it was one of those things where like, I was raised by my parents to be very polite and respectful, and you don't walk into anybody's house without permission. You don't walk in without knocking or anything like that.
Mhm.
And I'd go to R&D's house and literally stop at the doorway, and I would knock or ring the doorbell,
Hmm.
and I'd get yelled at by Ida. Mikey, what are you doing? You standing here ringing the doorbell, guy? This is your home. Get in here. And I'm like, just let me, first ask permission to come in.
Yeah.
That's the way I do it.
Yeah.
But they looked at me as one of their kids. So I kind of, that was like my big pat on the back, I guess.
Okay.
And I was with R&D my whole amateur career except for 2 years, and I
Hmm.
went to factory Honda for 2 years,
Okay.
and that's when we developed the CR80, and I think I won a couple titles in those 2 years, and then I went straight back to Suzuki again,
Hmm.
and I went back to the R&D team for one last year, um, as an amateur, only because I was promised a factory ride, with Suzuki on a 125 when
Okay.
I turned 16.
Okay. So when you were riding for the R&D Suzuki team, were you doing what kind of nationals were you doing back then, and what was it like riding for that team as far as being at the races?
Um, well, the amateur stuff we did. Our big amateur race was like the World Mini,
Okay.
which was out in Vegas, and then we had Ponca City,
Hmm.
Oklahoma.
Hmm.
Loretta Lynn's wasn't big for us.
Hmm.
Basically the kids from the West Coast did NMA. The East Coast kids did AMA.
Okay.
So good old brown dog Wilson. um, so I never did Loretta's. I've only been to Loretta Lynn's once in my life.
Okay.
All these kids that swear up and down and scream and yell at their parents that if they don't go win Loretta's, they're never going to make it is a crock of shit.
Yeah.
I never raced one time at Loretta's. I made it.
Yeah. Yeah. You had one hell of a run too. When you were riding for these top teams, you rode for Honda, you came back to Suzuki, and then you finally hit that premier class. What was it like bumping up from an amateur to an amateur pro, bumping up to riding with some of these elite riders like Rick Johnson and Jeff Ward?
um, well, I turned 16 in November, November 20th, like the end of November. Our first race was the first weekend of January for Anaheim One. Back then, well, we only had one Anaheim back then
Hmm.
in 1985, and I won Anaheim my first year.
Damn.
So I literally was on a big bike for a month and a
Hmm.
half at the most, and I won Anaheim. Actually, going into the last round of Supercross, I had like a 9 point lead, and I watched the last race from the stands with a broken femur.
Oh man.
I was just out play riding before going to a national, and
Hmm.
I sighted on a fire road and fell off a cliff and broke my femur.
Fuck. Fuck.
Yeah, so kind of ruined my season,
Yep.
and just kind of the way it went. I threw away the Supercross title and everything, but I don't know, for some reason it was I was just the right size. I wasn't big on the 125, but I wasn't small. And Suzuki didn't have the biggest bike out there.
Hmm.
Um, And so when the first thing I did was when I got on a 125, I was doing the Transcal series out here,
Yep.
CMC Transcal.
Yep. Yep.
And that was my introduction, I guess, into the pro class.
Okay.
And at the time that year when I started like my introduction year,
Hmm.
R&D built me a 125 motor that was scary fast. I
Really?
mean, it was so stupid fast because there was still the time when the factory riders had like real work spikes still.
Okay.
Honda had that one with the carbon fiber tank that was real low and everything.
Hmm.
Just the baddest bike you've ever seen. And the Suzuki work spike, we had a shortened rear fender and I don't know, like some weird handlebar or something that was our work spike, something stupid. And so they built me a motor that was, I mean, it was faster than my 250. It was crazy how fast it was.
Damn.
I literally I remember going to, I think it was Huron just for the race, and that was the last time I did a race that had the forward falling gate.
Hmm.
The old school forward falling gate, and everyone's like, "No, put the backwards in, put the backwards in," and they're like, "No, dude, just leave this in there because the top tube on the gate would like a foot round. It was huge." And
Wow.
like they're like, nobody's gonna be able to jump over this. They can't get over it. Sure enough, the first moto, I hit the gate so hard I jumped over it, and I was already down to the first turn, making the turn before the gate ever dropped. And I lapped. I stayed in front of everybody. I think O'Mara ended up second behind me,
Hmm.
and he caught me, like he got me in sight. But I ended up like lapping up to like fourth place.
Damn.
And they wanted to, all they could do was dock me a lap,
Okay.
for jumping the gate.
Yeah.
So I ended up fourth overall that moto.
Oh man, man.
Yeah,
So back then they weren't actually protesting bikes. I take it, huh?
they couldn't because we're allowed to have work spikes back then.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So it wasn't until '86 that even my 250 was a work spike still. So it wasn't until like '87 or so that the production law came in.
Okay.
And that's when everybody, all the factories stepped up and put together, the contingency money for being a privateer rider.
Hmm.
And that's when I got fired from Suzuki. And basically, I just went out and bought me a couple of Suzuki's because they were offering so much money per moto to win, like 20 grand a moto to win if
Oh,
you had
really?
title to a bike.
Yeah. Wow.
You had to be a privateer. You couldn't, get it just from a shop or something. You
Hmm.
had to have the title and everything.
Okay.
There's a lot of paperwork behind it.
Yep.
But I went to Gainesville and Daytona as a privateer, and I think I made like $75,000 in the 2 weeks.
Shit.
And I
Shit.
cause I podiumed at Gainesville, I podiumed in the 250 class, and at Daytona I crashed in the main. I think I was second or third, on the first lap or second lap, and the power valve broke.
Okay.
Like the plastic little clip that held the power valve into the thing
Hmm.
snapped. And
Damn.
as I went into the whoops and went to gas it to get the bike to hop into them, there was nothing there, just bogged
Okay.
and just right over the bars and called it a day.
Wow.
Just went home.
You
Actually,
had
yeah, go ahead.
you had a lot of races, in the states, but you also went over and headed over to Europe, man, and you rode the 125 and 250 there as well. How was that transition riding some of those European tracks, man, as opposed to riding some of the tracks in the states? How long did it take you to transition?
Well, that race at Daytona that I was just talking about, I never got to drive home. Like I drove there with a buddy in his van and my trailer, and I had two bikes and he had one bike, and I had a buddy fly out that mechanic for me. Well, Sunday night after the race, a Swedish guy that lived in Italy, called my mom and kind of confronted my mom and told her, "Hey, I want to bring Mike over for a couple of weeks to try and race in Europe, for a couple $1,000. You think you'd be down?" So I never went home from that race. I
Mm,
literally flew from that race on Monday to Italy and took off and went to Italy. And I was going to stay there for 2 weeks, just kind of like a vacation, just do two races
mm,
and then come back home and get ready for the, as a privateer next national.
yep.
And I ended up staying over the whole time. Like
Damn.
I came home. I was supposed to come home in July because this the GP series takes a break the whole month of July.
Mm,
Well, I didn't come home. I stayed over there and just kept training and stuff and doing things that I could do to make money because I literally went over there with $200 in my pocket,
oh,
thinking that I was only gonna stay 2 weeks and make 2,000.
yeah.
So I didn't have anything with me. Well, I ended up staying, and now I'm there for a few months. I got a mechanic that I'm feeding, taking care of, and all this stuff. Over there that I have to pay for because he doesn't have a dime to his name. I had to buy, a truck, a camper thing for us to live in and stuff. Now I'm paying for everything. And
Mm,
so instead of coming home, I just stayed over there and just did some odd jobs and stuff for the people that we lived with, things like that. Did some local racing, made some money, and ended up buying a car and things like that, and just made it so it made life easier for us.
mm,
And then, but it wasn't. I think the first year I went over there, I was so busy just trying to live, because I mean, I was piss poor. I mean, I
okay.
literally there was times that we sat there just twiddling our thumbs before, like 2 or 3 days before we're supposed to be at the GP because we didn't have any money to put gas in or diesel into our truck or our van or anything to go. So we were doing the math and figuring, okay, if we rent a little like Fiat Uno or something, one of the little Fiat cars, if we rent one of those for $10 a day,
Mm,
you know, gas is gonna be a lot cheaper, but we have to go now from Italy to like Spain because the
yeah.
first race is in Spain, the next one's in Portugal, and at the last minute we decide, okay, the race is on set, or we have to be there at least by Friday night, kind of thing, because we got to, get our paperwork in, all this stuff in, and Saturday morning is tech inspection and practice and all that, and qualifying and everything. So literally by Thursday afternoon, I just said fuck and told my mechanic, grab as many tools as you can and put them in a fanny pack. We're going, and
Mm,
and put some clothes in a backpack. We're going. And I grabbed my gear bag, and I had a backpack on that had some street clothes in it, and we went down to the train station
mm,
and jumped on a train
damn.
and just did a fucking red eye train ride through the night. And then my mechanic ended up getting a hold of some some guy in Spain and just conned him into that I was the biggest thing coming out of America and all this shit. Dude, they
Mm,
showed up with a camper for me. They had extra brand new bikes from the shop for me as spare bikes and stuff.
there you go.
I mean, they had everything for me. They had a secretary there for me to make my lunch and everything. And good thing I podiumed. Like
Ye-
I had a good weekend. I had a
Good,
good
good,
weekend, so it was cool. But
good.
yeah, I don't know what he ever said to these people, but they showed up at the train station to pick us up, and they're just like, "Why did you guys take a train?
Mm,
Why didn't you guys fly here or something?" And I'm like, dude, you don't understand. I opened up my wallet, and I literally had like in dollars. If we were translated out into dollars, it was like something like $14 to my name. And I'm
fuck.
like, this is for us to eat dinner tonight.
Man, man. Well,
And
you raced your heart out, man, and made that fucking podium. And where did it go from that point on? Did you stay, spend a little bit more time there, or did you end up packing up your shit and coming back?
well, no, I stayed over there. Well, I at the end of the season, at the end of the first season, when it was over and done, that's when I came home basically, and because we get 6 months off.
Okay.
Because they just when they do the outdoor series, they'll do a couple indoors during the winter, but it's not a big thing. It's more the Americans that come over that do all the indoors.
Okay.
So the Europeans don't really do a lot of it. When it's when it's off season, that's time not to race. They recover. They
Hmm.
they really only stick to their racing that they plan on doing. And if it's not race time, they're not training. They're not doing anything.
Okay.
You know, they're
Okay.
doing their own life with their family and
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're completely different than we are.
Hmm.
They freaked out when I was there. Because I growing up here, I grew up riding every day, and it literally, like, I would ride 7 days a week here. And if I had a day that I wasn't riding due to no races or something going on,
Hmm.
um, I felt weird. Like I was missing something.
Yeah.
I literally would have to load my bike up and just go, to one of the local tracks that I had, like on the side of the freeway or something,
Hmm.
and just go run my bike for an hour or something, just because I felt like I was missing out.
Oh yeah.
And so when I got there, literally like the first week that I was in Italy,
Hmm.
I was trying to explain to my mechanic and the people that were helping us out and stuff, the family that we lived with and everything, that I need to go riding every day. And they're like, "What do you mean? We can't do that. The bikes won't make it. Bike won't last a year like that." I said, "No, I'm not going to ride on the race bike. The race bike stays only for the race. I said, "That's why I have a practice bike and a race bike." Well,
Yes.
no, and the Swedish guy kept saying, "No, you have to practice on the race bike. That way you're always used to it." I said, "No." So I ended up, getting, a ride with Kajiva like halfway through the season. Kajiva stepped up. Well, it turned out that Strybos needed someone to kind of block for him again. So they brought me over to the Kajiva team, and
Hmm.
they had a bike for me to race that showed up at all the races. Well, Kajiva also had a 500, which was just the biggest piece of crap you ever seen. It looked like a big hill climb bike, and that
Hmm.
was a production 500,
Oh
gnarly.
wow. Wow.
And I just said, "Here, I want a 500 and one more 125 to practice on. That's it." And like the people at the factory just like their chins hit the ground when I said I wanted a 500. And I rode the 500 every day. Like
Damn.
that's what I trained on was a big old fucking 500 thing. And come to race day, I'd get on my little 125 and just wing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
People would just freak out that how fast I was going because I just so used to riding a big bike.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but they just couldn't handle me riding every day. That just freaked them out. They didn't know what to think.
Damn. Damn. Now you rode Suzuki's, you rode Hondas, Kachivas, you also rode KTM's back in the days.
Mhm.
How was the KTM's development back then? Because they've come a long way since when you were riding. But how were the bikes back then when you finally got a hold of one and you were able to
Um,
spin some laps on it?
well, when I first signed with KTM was in '89. So basically, '85 and '86 I was factory Suzuki, and then '87 I was a privateer, and then '88 I went to Europe, and I finished off the year. I started the year off riding Yamahas. I had got a deal riding Yamahas through an importer in Italy. So I started the season off. I made the first 3 rounds on Yamahas,
Hmm.
and they were just the biggest piece of shits in the world. I
Okay.
could not get one to stay together,
Hmm.
and so I gave them back, and that's when I was going to call it quits and come home, and that's when Kate or Kajiva stepped in because I had ridden for Kajiva in the States and stepped in and said, "Hey, we need some help, with the Stribos," because he was going back and forth with Vandenberg for the title. And said, "We need some help. If we give you a factory bike and bring it to the races for you, will you help us out? Will you ride with us?" "Sure, whatever it takes. Just give me a works bike." I said, "I'm tired of coming to these races and just struggling to barely qualify."
Hmm.
And so I show up at the next race in Germany, and they pull my bike out of the race truck. So now there's 3, factory bikes, under the tent, under the race tent. There was Dave Strybos's, who was the guy from Holland, and then there was Massimo Contini, who was the guy from Italy, and then me, the American.
Okay.
And that, like, the first race that I was on the Kajiva was in Germany, and I like never even ridden a bike. Like I haven't even sat on and adjusted bars or anything.
Hmm.
So when I got there, um, like I just did the normal thing you do. You adjust the bars and things. I didn't have any spare things that were mine for the bike. I didn't have any levers or anything like that. No grips that were mine or anything. I
Yeah.
rode what was ever production on the bike and just
Hmm.
adjust it, tighten it, let's go.
Yep.
I podiumed both motos.
Nice. Nice.
And I was pole position on qualifying for start on Sunday.
Hmm.
I was like top two or three qualifying on Saturday, and going from barely making it, and just like yelling at myself, to go faster because the bike was so slow I couldn't get around the track.
Yeah.
Then getting on a real bike,
Yeah.
here I am now on the podium.
Yeah.
And so like everyone's like, "Whoa, wait a minute, where'd you learn how to ride? How come last week you couldn't qualify?" And if you saw what I was riding, you'd understand.
Yeah.
And so I went to the Kajivas, and then after the Kajivas was when we went to the next year. At the end of the year with Kajiva was when I met the Trunk and Pulse family from KTM,
Hmm.
and they were asking me why. Like we all went out one night after one of the races, and they were asking me why I wasn't going and taking over all these, like winning all these Supercross races during the winter over there.
Hmm.
And I just kind of asked them. I said, "Hey, have you ever seen the Kajiva 250?" I said, "The Kajiva 250 right now that Pekka Bakonen just won the 250 title on still has drum brakes on it."
Oh man.
And this is in '89. I
Yeah.
said it's still got drum brakes on it. Um, you know, I said the bike is so bad that I prefer to ride the 500 than the 250,
Hmm.
just because it's more bike than the 250 is.
Okay.
I mean, every time I got on the bike and rode the 250, there was nothing to protect my leg from the exhaust pipe. Because the pipe would go by and it literally would melt the nylon on my riding pants
Hmm.
into my leg.
Damn.
It was just because there was nothing there. There was no number plate. There was nothing there to protect you.
Yeah. Yep.
And literally, it would get so hot that it like burned a hole right through my boots.
Fuck.
I mean, it was just crazy. I literally went to the hospital once after riding it, and they had a wire brush and had to wire brush my leg to get all the plastic from my knee pads and stuff out of my skin.
Damn. Damn.
Yeah. So, and I told the guy from Drunken Pole or from KTM, this is why I don't race the supercrosses on the Kajivas, because you'll get hurt. They're
Yeah.
dangerous.
Okay.
I do what I can do with what I have, and that's not going to do it for me. I said, because it's just not going to do it.
Yeah.
And so basically, they invited me to come with them back to Austria to their home and stuff and talk with them. And when I was there, the dad, Mr. Trunkenbolt, kind of brought me into the factory, into his office, and just kind of slid a contract out in front of me and said, "This is what we're offering Bobby right now, Bobby Moore.
Hmm.
And this is what we want to offer you for your first year here. And if you do good on your first year, it could be first of many, you
Okay.
know. And like the dollar amount is just your first entry year. Don't worry
Hmm.
about that. Just get through it."
Yep.
And like my first year was like in the 100,000s.
Oh wow. Wow.
Yeah, and I went, really? I went from paying my own way and everything to a couple 100,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
And literally they paid for my mechanic. They paid everything.
Hmm.
All my living expenses, everything. They covered everything for me. And then I started talking to them. I said, "Well, what about me going home and doing like the Golden State? Because I like to go home, and that was always my warm up, the
Hmm.
Golden State. From a little kid, that's where like I knew all the pros did Golden State as their training and warm up and everything for their season.
Yes.
Golden State used to be gnarly back in the day.
Oh
Back
yeah.
back in the 80s, back in the early 80s to like early 2000s, every pro was at the Golden State race.
Oh yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, I remember where it was a 2-day race where Saturday was all only amateurs, and
Hmm.
Sunday was all pros and the 80 experts.
Wow.
And there
Okay.
was so many pros there that every class had to have at least two qualifiers.
Oh
You know,
shit.
there were
Okay.
two qualifiers in 125, two and 250, two
Hmm.
500,
Hmm.
and there was probably three or four in the 80 class. There was easy 100 plus riders in the 80 class every weekend,
Damn.
and it was every top 80 riders you can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. During those
And
days, man, I know those were that CMC and that Golden State was packed heater riders, man. They packed
yeah,
the fastest guys during that time period.
and I remember like when I got on big bikes and sat there, I sat on the starting gate for the 125 pro class
Yep.
main event, and I had Jeff Ward on one side of me. Next to him was Mark Barnett. You know, next to him was David Bailey. You know, and it just went on. And these were like, then you get to me, and there's Mike Healey, and I'm the 16-year-old little punk kid. You know,
Yeah.
these are full grown men that have won like
Yeah.
titles and
Oh
stuff.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm just, oh man, you
Damn.
know, you whole shot and you just try to get out of their way. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, you were where you need to be during that time period because you earned your mark to be there. So so
Thank
you
you.
came home and you raced those races. Did you end up going back over to Europe after all that?
Yeah, well, I came home because I told Chunk and Polts that that's something I like to do is training, and I would like to work with KTM America, if possible, to do that. You
Hmm.
know, and that will help. So what that did was I became almost like a test rider for KTM.
Okay.
So during the Golden State Series, they had me on 125, the 250, and the 500. You know, all three pro classes, and basically I was their test rider, and we were changing things and testing things, and it got to a point to where like I was dominating every class, and
Nice.
I ended up overall in every class. I'm the only guy that's ever done it.
Damn.
Yeah, I
Wow.
overall every pro class in the Golden State Series, all three.
No, congratulations on that one, man.
Thank
Shit.
you.
Yeah.
And I and I did it for KTM America. I just it was crazy because I didn't realize how hard. Like I knew I was training real hard and all this stuff, and I was stout. You know, I was in shape. I had like 3% body fat and all this stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
But there's like a KTM commercial that came out on social media, and it starts off and they're like doing like a talk with like Kurt Nichol, you know, he's over in Europe and stuff,
Uh-huh.
500 world champion, and then the announcer turns to like my name, and we got Mike Healey here, you know, the winner of the Golden State, the first guy to ever do this, you know. They like pan in on me, and I'm in just normal street clothes. I look like a fucking WWF wrestler.
At the forefront of all KTM research and development efforts is the pursuit of World Grand Prix motocross titles. For us, Grand Prix racing is more than just a passion. At KTM, it's our heart and soul. During 1990, KTM was the only manufacturer to win rounds in every category of World Grand Prix competition. KTM riders Kurt Nicole, Jackie Martins, Kees van der Ven, and Franco Rossi made a shambles of the 500cc series, taking 4 out of the top 8 positions. And KTM's all-American wrecking crew of Trappist Parker, Mike Healey, and Bobby Moore garnered several overall victories in the World 125cc and 250cc competitions. Oh yeah, in case you're wondering how we stack up against the competition here at home, just ask Mike Healey, who made motocross history by sweeping the 125, 250, and 500cc championships at this year's CMC Golden State Motocross Series.
You know, the first time, I guess, in history of 14 years of the CMC Golden State Series, I was able to pull off all 3 classes by winning the 125, 250, and 500.
The same design and development that guaranteed KTM success on the World Grand Prix circuit during 1990 is evident in 1991 KTM 125, 250, 300, and 500cc motocross machines.
Now you're riding the KTM bike. It's really come and really made some waves here against the Japanese bikes. What do you think about that?
Yeah, KTM has really put a good bike together this year. We've worked hard with it and done a lot of testing, and I owe them a lot of thanks for all the help and everything they've done for me.
All riders have their highs and their lows, man. And what do you feel like your lowest point was that you hit where you wanted to quit racing but you didn't, and what kept you going?
Shoot, that's a good question. Um, I think it was when I kind of got done dirty over in Europe. I had a couple big crashes.
Okay.
Like, cause I went most of my career without really nothing major. I mean, I did my femur once when I was younger. Um, Nothing really bad until like towards the end of my career. And I got off big time in Italy and was announced dead on the track.
Really?
And my daughter had only been born for 6 months.
Okay.
And like my teammate said, the last thing that I said to him was tell my wife and my daughter that I love them. And like my eyes rolled back in my head and I took a deep breath and I was done. And somehow on the way to the hospital, I guess, as we're sitting in the back of the ambulance, I guess my mechanic told me that they had a blanket over my head and everything. Like I was done. There was no trying to revive me. They jump started me. They did everything, and I wasn't coming through. And so they put the blanket over my head and they shut the back doors. And my mechanic said he was just literally like had his head in his hands and he was just crying because how is he going to call my wife now and explain to her that I'm dead?
Yeah.
And he had just begged her to have me come back one more time, because I came back to do the 500 class.
Okay.
And I did all these years and I missed being world champion every time by just a couple points.
Okay.
And every year I literally, like, even in 91 when I missed it by 3 points, I took no points the first 6 motos. The first 3 rounds that I raced, I took no points in those 6 motos.
Okay.
And basically every series that I did over here was like that. I had at least almost 6 motos in every race year where I took no points, and it was because of bike problems.
Yeah.
And in 91 it was that white power suspension. So the first 3 rounds I was trying to work out that white power suspension, and while I was doing that, I'd broken 2 shock shafts. I disintegrated a set of fork springs. I broke a linkage and put the shock through the seat. Things like that. And just things that just put me down pretty hard.
Yeah.
And I still came back to almost win it at the end. And so I guess when the ambulance was driving out of the track, they just kind of started up. And when they backed up, they like hit a hole or a rock or something. And my mechanic said the ambulance kind of hopped. And when that happened, I coughed, like it jarred me or something. And I spit up a blood clot like the size of a softball.
Damn.
And I guess the blood that was in my throat from to the laying on my back, I guess the blood was going down my nose and stuff in through my throat. It coagulated and dried solid in my throat and stopped me from breathing.
Wow.
And so when that happened, it kind of pressed my chest or something. I don't know. And I spit this up. Well, I sat up. I like to breathe. And my mechanic said I sat up and I was pissed off at the world. I wasn't ready to go. I was cussing everybody out. I was swinging at them like I was going to take people out with me. And so they induced me into a coma and took me into surgery. I ended up shattering all 4 sections of my rib cage. And when I came out of surgery, I had tubes coming out both sides, front and back on my chest, my back, coming out the bottom of my ribs, my lungs and stuff. And so basically, when that happened, I shattered all 4 sections of my ribs, and I shredded one lung completely, shredded it apart.
Oh
So,
shit.
so now I literally have like little over one full lung that I can breathe with,
Okay.
because the
Wow.
other one is just solid scar tissue.
Yeah. Wow.
And
Interesting.
it's really hard because now it's like, if I do anything,
Mm-hmm.
like if I were to get up right now and just kind of run across the garage, I'd probably pass out
Okay.
because I
Okay.
just can't get enough oxygen into me that
Yeah.
quick.
Yep.
If I get up and walk slowly over there or something, take my
Mm-hmm.
time,
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine.
Okay.
It's just when if I warm up to things, I can do it.
Yeah.
Because you got
Okay.
to get things, your insides moving.
Yep.
Well, um,
Let me get. I'm sorry, Mike, to cut you off, but let me get you to slide over a little bit to your left so I can get you in full screen. Perfect. Perfect. There
how's
we
that? Is
go.
that better?
Yeah,
I'm
much
like
better.
getting all comfortable in my chair.
All good, man. Good
There we go.
conversation.
All right, cool. So some shit went down in the hospital in Malpensa in Milan, because I at the time I had lived in Italy, when I first got there and stuff, so I knew Italian. I could understand it, and I could speak it a little bit, but I could really, if I listened, I could understand it. I could translate it and stuff. And so the nurses were doing some shady shit with a couple old men that were there, like taking their meds and shit,
Mm-hmm.
all their pain meds and shit. Well, 2 guys ended up dying in the hospital because these nurses were stealing their fucking pain meds and shit.
Damn.
And I tried talking to my doctor and stuff, like, tell him, man, I want out of here. This sucks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think that the nurses are doing their jobs and this and that and da 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 da. And he's like, no, don't worry, everything's okay. And when I got up in the morning and one of the guys was being, kind of pulled out of their dead, I went, man, I told my mechanic, I said, hey, I said, it's going to take me about 45 minutes. I said, but right there by the exit, pull the truck up to there, the race truck up to that exit right there, and just be in it with it running. I said, I'll be out in about 45 minutes. And he's all, what are you talking about? I said, just do it. So because he basically was living in the race truck, just down the street from the hospital. And because I was only in the hospital 7 days,
Okay.
with surgery and everything, I was only there 7 days. And when the doctor basically told me not to worry about it, that I'm not seeing and hearing the things that I think I am, kind of telling me I'm full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then that those guys didn't die because of what I thought and stuff.
Yeah.
I just kind of asked him, just out of the blue, I'm like, hey, these tubes that you have in me, just out of curiosity, how do you take them out? What's your procedure? How do you do it? He goes, oh, I just get the scab around the edge wet, with a little water,
Mm-hmm.
twist it so they break loose. And he goes, each tube is in you for probably a good 4 or 5 feet.
Hmm.
And he goes, it's a good 2 like arm lengths pull to get it all the way out of you.
Damn.
I'm
Damn.
like, okay, cool, thank you. All right, have a nice day. I'll see you tonight when you come check on me. And as soon as he got out of the room, I grabbed some chonies and a pair of
Mm-hmm.
shorts and stuff and t-shirt. I went into the bird bath in the bathroom,
Yep.
and I start going in there because they didn't clean me up or anything for surgery. I still had mud in my ears and stuff from my crash and all
Wow.
that.
Wow.
So I just go in there and I start bird bathing. And when I was bird bathing, I made sure that all these tubes were soaking wet.
Yep.
And I just, all right, 1, 2, and I just yanked.
Mm.
And I pulled the tubes out myself.
Damn.
And literally, like, I didn't even know where to put the band-aids or anything. I just fucking put a shirt on and got the fuck out. And I walked right out the front door, right in front of everybody. I literally had a bag in my hand. I'm walking like 2 miles an hour, just fucking stumbling, like holding the wall and shit. And like my mechanic helped me into the race stand, and I sat there in the front seat with him until we got to Belgium from Italy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like an 8-hour drive. And when I got to Belgium, basically he dropped me off at my house, my apartment. And at my apartment, I had a little truck that I bought and stuff. And I packed a bag and I went down to Brussels. and I just had a carry-on bag and everything, and I got on the next flight to LA. And I left my truck sitting there, like right at the curb where you're not supposed to park and everything at the airport, running with the keys in the ignition, everything. I
Yeah.
just walked away from it.
Fuck it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yep.
want nothing to do with this no more. I'm over it. I'm done.
Yep.
And basically, it just, to me, I felt like everybody just kind of slapped me in the face. Here I'm putting my life on the line for everybody else. And people are telling me I'm full of shit. I'm not hearing things what I hear, and this kind of shit. And my mechanic wasn't even what pissed me off the most. It wasn't like, let's get you healthy, get you home so we can get you training again to get you back out here. He was like, you better be back here in 10 days. He goes, the next GP's in 10 days. If you're not here, making fucking money for us, he goes, I'm going to have some serious shit to talk to you about. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? I'm like, I was dead, right? It's like, I don't care. He goes, if you don't race, I don't get paid, and I lose my house, my mortgage and shit. I said, well, you may want to go sell something then. You think you're the only one that has fucking problems? I'm sorry. I got a wife and kid at home.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
We all have
Oh, yeah.
problems, buddy. And so I just fucking flew home, which probably was the dumbest thing I could have done, because I didn't think about it back then, being young and everything. But you get on the airplane and it's all the air is in the cabin and all that is pressurized.
Yes.
So my lungs could have just deflated on me if I wasn't careful.
Fuck.
And I didn't even think about it. I just got on the plane and said, fuck, I'm going home.
Yeah. Well.
And I had my wife pick me up at LAX, and had it already arranged with my surgeon. I basically went straight to him and, went under all the MRI, CAT scan, all that crap, and just made sure my insides were okay. So, and he was like, dude, he goes, I don't know how the fuck you were walking. He goes, I don't even know how you got out of the hospital. He goes, they don't know how I got out either. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, dude, I pulled the tubes up myself and left. And he goes, I would say you're full of shit. He goes, but just a year and a half ago, he goes, you came to me with fishing lines, 20-pound test in your lip. He goes, and you stitched your lip up yourself. I said, yeah. And he goes, you come to me with that. And he goes, then 3 weeks later, you come to me after the race in Unadilla, and you got fucking dental floss in your nutsack. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Okay, well, do what you gotta do.
Yeah. Shit, Mike. So was that the straw that broke the camel's back? That accident right there? Is that pulled you out? Did that pull you out permanently?
That was basically it. Where I just said, you know what, I'm tired of doing it for everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. It just, my whole deal at that time just felt like I was doing it. I was racing for everybody but me.
Yeah.
And like the GPs, because my mechanic wanted more money. Come on, fuck. That's not why you go racing.
Yeah.
You go racing because you want to be, cool. You want to work on your bike to make it badass. So, when you pull up, everybody goes, oh, fuck, look at that bike, At least I did, All the local stuff that I did, afterwards, like, I'd go and do, like, the Adelama Grand Prix or something, which was one of my favorite races I always did, big Grand Prix. And I showed up one year, and I built 2 Yamahas back then just for an off-road race. And they looked like one of Johnny O'Mara's old Mugen bikes.
Okay.
Remember the Mugen Hondas that he had?
Yep, I remember those bikes.
I had a 125 that was all white and gold. And the other one, my 250, was all white and blue.
Okay.
And it just, it was highlighted in the different colors. And a real simple graphic on it and stuff. But literally, like, when I pulled up, people didn't think they were Yamahas. Literally, I ground Yamaha off of everything, off of the cases and everything, all that. And everybody thought they were Mugen bikes. They're like, fuck, Gilly, if it wasn't for you, we guaranteed it was a Mugen.
Oh, shit.
Like, no, I just picked these up from the Yamaha shop.
Damn, no, we know Moto, man. It'll chew you up and spit you out, and you'll just end up like, where the fuck am I now? And I know once you started racing, how was it transitioning into a normal lifestyle, spending all that time, building up your legacy, and then you finally got to go out and kind of transition to yourself into the normal world. How did you go about that?
Um, that was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Going from being a rock star. I mean, I lived the rock star life. I didn't have to pay for anything. I didn't have to do anything. Um, I mean, I was probably the first rider that was ever sponsored by like a radio station and shit. I was sponsored by back then, KNEC, which
Hmm.
was our heavy metal station back then. Our rock
Okay.
station,
Yep.
which would be like a punk station today or a college station or something like that today.
Hmm.
And like John or Knight posted a lot of stuff on social media, and he posted a picture of me, and he goes, I just noticed, this for the first time. He goes, but look at Healy's chest protector. And I had a big KNAC sticker across it,
Hmm.
and I said, fuck you. Not only was I, dating a chick that worked there and stuff behind the counter, and I said, they paid me a lot of money to put that sticker on there. He's like,
Yeah.
dude, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, every week they had different tickets for me to go to different shows and shit, and things like that. So I did things that nobody else did. I ventured into like different realms of the sport that nobody ever did.
That's
You
good.
know, I was the first one that, like, I kicked in the door for all these freestyle kids and stuff. They're all tatted and colored hair and piercings and all that stuff. I was
Hmm.
the first one to have all that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I
That was
was.
my question. Like during that time, like because they painted like Rick Johnson is like the bad boy, but he was so clean cut during that time.
Oh, he was so straight edge. It was unreal. He was
It-
such
it-
he was a bad boy. He was such a pussy. It was unreal. The bad boy was Dogger. Was Ronnie.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Ronnie was fucking. Whoo.
yeah,
Him,
and
him and him and King
yourself,
Solomon.
man.
And those guys were the real bad boys.
Okay,
But that's their story.
yeah, for
That's
sure,
their
for
life. And
sure.
but RJ, you never heard RJ ever do anything bad or wrong, or he was so straight edge and clean cut.
Mhm.
Him being a bad boy was what, he banged bars with somebody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
If you didn't bang bars, you weren't racing. You didn't want to win.
yeah,
That's
yeah, exactly.
like now there's that guy Barsha. Like everybody's all worried about Barsha because he's known for running into people and blocking them and being aggressive. That's fucking racing, dude. When did it
Yes.
become such a wussy sport that when you bump into somebody, I mean, I haven't seen him really T-bone anybody yet.
Hmm.
I've seen him come in and block where he kind of bumps their tires a little bit or something just to get in front of them, just to get by them. Dude, when I race, I'd break your fucking leg for a position. I would. A position back
Damn,
then was an extra $100. Just the
damn.
bottom of my fork leg would hit your ankle and snap your ankle. Simple.
Did you have
So
any
do it
problems
to
with
me back
anybody
then.
back then?
What?
Did you have any problems with anybody, any riders back then,
No,
or
I
anybody?
was the biggest guy on the track back then.
Okay, okay,
And I
okay.
didn't mind fighting, so it didn't. I never really had any issues.
Yeah, okay.
It was kind of fun. I enjoyed going out there and banging bars, and that's kind of, I think, what it was when I was younger. Like I was saying when about Saddleback and all that stuff. It was fun for me to be the younger guy, the little guy with all the big bikes and stuff, getting out there because they would push me around a little bit, but they didn't want to hurt me because I was on an 80.
Yeah.
But man, I come back at them pretty hard.
Hmm.
So I learned how to really be aggressive and not take shit from nobody
Hmm.
by some of the best riders in the world.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely
And
hold you.
I mean, like I grew up watching like Magoo. My hats off to like guys like Bob Hanna, the way his riding style and stuff, because he just did not stop. I didn't like him as a rider, or I hate him as a person, but he just did not know the word quit.
Okay.
He didn't. The motor wasn't done until the bike was broken, or it didn't run no more.
Mm.
there was no, oh, I hurt my elbow or something, I can't race. Not with Bob. Bars would be half off the bike, the seat would be on top of him. I mean, just didn't
Damn.
matter. If you watch like the old Bob Hanna videos, half the time, like only one just get like one leg on the bike, the other leg was somewhere else.
Yeah.
He just
Yeah.
didn't care. That right hand was always pinned.
Damn.
He just never shut off. And that's the same with Magoo. Magoo just never quit. And if Magoo tried something and somebody said, "Oh, that can't be done," oh, Magoo would make sure it was done, doable. I mean, like over in Europe, what did he do? He won a race, and just as he was coming up to the checker flag, he stopped, got off the bike, and sat on it backwards and rode it backwards across the checker flag. Rode like 100 yards backwards.
Really? Shit.
Yeah, and then got the checker flag. And when he got the checker flag, then he downed like a big old beer. I mean, and it was all because somebody tried to tell him, "No, you can't ride a bike backwards. It's not possible."
Yeah.
And he's all,
He
and
made it happen.
he's doing that at GP, like a world championship race,
Shit.
not a local race or something like that. He's doing it, at something that means something.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, that's ballsy, man. That's cool.
That's crazy. That's crazy
Yeah.
to say something like that and do something like that during that time period, man. He raised definitely the bar. He was himself.
And then there's like pictures and stuff of him racing where like he crashed in the first turn or something like that, and his handlebar is bent right where like the crossbar meets the other bar, and it's bent like 90 degrees straight down. And he is not giving up or anything. He's holding the bar up like this, so the throttle side's normal way out here, and then the clutch side is bent like the crossbar goes and meets the other bar, and then it goes straight down. Instead of having to grip down here like this, he's holding it up here at where the crossbar is.
Damn.
And he rode like 30 minutes like that, and still was like one of the top guys in his moto.
Fuck.
That's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Guys had different. I think they were wired different back then. That's for damn sure.
And a lot of people, and that's the biggest thing that I get, kind of the biggest pat on the back is a lot of people have told me that they saw Magoo and me when I raced.
Okay.
That basically like the way I raced, to the end, do or die, it was kind of like the Magoo,
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't matter, and I see it now because, I have some DVDs and stuff people sent me from Europe. And there's a lot of races over there that where if I was in a first turn crash or something and the bike was shredded. Like there's no silencer on the bike, there's no rear fender, no rear subframe. Half the bike's missing.
Damn.
I've had one where the airbox was ripped off the bike and stuff. And I was still out there finishing the race. Things like that. I just didn't stop until literally the checker flag came out and they told me I had to.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Wow.
I just, because basically every point meant so much to me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So when you got out of racing, you had to transition back into this normal lifestyle, man. I know we talked about how it was for you, and it was really difficult for you. Everybody talks about about how you went to jail and stuff like that, man. If you want to, I don't know if you want to talk about it, but if you want to rewind the clock a little bit, what was it like for yourself experiencing going to jail for the first time?
Well, there's nothing cool about going to jail, ever. It's just not the place you ever want to be. You don't ever want to put yourself in that position. But if you do, you better be ready. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's fucking miserable inside there.
Oh yeah.
I was in a lot of pain when I quit racing so much, and I was doing my schools and everything, where I would be out there anywhere from, I don't know what, 8 to 15 hours a day. I was at the track 7 days a week.
Wow.
And it was just teaching other people how to ride. And I was, I was doing 2 to 3 classes a day, and I was having 5 to 6 riders in each class. So, like, I mean, I was putting in a lot of hours, and I was still at the track, and now I'm there, but now I'm on my feet and this and that, and it just sucked. I mean, it was cool because I was helping these kids go fast and stuff and become a lot better riders and safer and all this. But it got to a point to where I was starting to wake up every morning and I was feeling worse and worse every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, old injuries were coming up. All the old broken bones and stuff like that were coming up. All the arthritis and stuff in my body was coming up. So I went to the doctors, and it started with them, you know, sending me to pain management. And when I did that, that's they like introduced me to like the Vicodins and the Norcos and stuff like that,
Okay.
the pharmaceutical drugs.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, this definitely helps. It
Mm-hmm.
gets me through the day, makes me feel better. But anybody that has ever done, opiate drugs, that you get from the doctors and stuff, you only have to take maybe 10 of them and you're hooked.
Yeah.
Unless you can get through that detox period really easily.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing. It hurts so bad to get off of them to detox. That's how people end up getting hooked. Is it hurts so bad, it makes your body hurt so bad, that it's just easier to take them. And I don't know, I got to a point to where I was taking, I don't know, gosh, I think there was a time I was taking 120 a day.
Fuck. Really?
Yeah.
God damn, Mike.
And I was dating this girl at the time that was into the same things that I was, the drug wise. And um, we were both kind of struggling money wise. And I don't know, she gave me an idea to go do something, and I did it. And it was something I've never done before. Like, I've never tried to steal anything in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so she told, oh, yeah, you just do this and take off running. You're good. Don't have to catch up.
Yep.
I mean, I got to be the worst thief in the fucking world. I was caught in like 45 minutes.
God damn.
I
Yeah.
didn't even have time to fucking go get high
Mm-hmm.
before it was rolled up.
Damn.
So I'm definitely not a good thief, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so, um, and before it all started, I ended up catching a case because I beat a guy up that
Okay.
stole stuff from my daughter, and
No shit. Okay.
that one was basically I would do it again today, but I definitely would do it differently
Mm-hmm.
because the guy was supposed to be a friend, like a homeboy, that
Yep.
we were doing dirt together. And I went to go to work. I went to go to a school, and I was going to come home and have a good chunk of money on me. And then we are going to go see the connect and all that stuff. Well, I come home, and my buddy's not around. And I was letting him stay at the house, and he wasn't around, and he wasn't answering his phone and stuff. So I
Mm-hmm.
started snooping through, the house and everything, and come and find out, like, all my daughter's shit is missing.
Hmm.
Her laptop, her phones, her TV, all this stuff is gone. Her bicycle, everything, just anything this guy could get his hands on that he could pawn was gone.
Okay.
And so I go down to the pawn shop just down the street from my house, and they're family friends. There's only one pawn shop in Costa Mesa. They're family friends. And so
Hmm.
when I go in there and talk to them, they're like, "Oh yeah, that guy was here earlier this morning with a whole bunch of stuff." And I thought, "Well, that's all my daughter's stuff." And I said, "I understand the rules. I have to buy it back and all this stuff." And I said, "I understand it." So finally, I get a hold of the guy, and he's all, "Yeah, I'm over at the motel, and I got some girls, and I got some drugs, I got this and that. Why don't you come over and party with us?" And, well, yeah, I go over there, and he opens up the door, and I got a baseball bat with me, and a couple other things. And sure enough, I kick in the door, so I get out of his hands, and there's two hookers in the room with him, all kinds of stuff, and I get them out of there, and next thing you know, he's promising he's got money and the ATM is, in the bank in his ATM, and nothing comes out.
Hmm.
And he just wouldn't shut up. He excuse after excuse after excuse. And I'm like, dude, so I'm going to give you the opportunity just to come truthful with me. I said,
Yeah.
did you steal my daughter's stuff? I said, I have, the paperwork with your signature on it. I said, they gave me a copy of the invoice. I said, is this you? Did you do this? Nope, did not. I didn't do anything. I wouldn't do that. You're like a brother to me. And finally, I just snapped and I just drilled him right in the side
Yeah.
of the head. He went out cold, and I didn't stop until like I was hitting concrete.
Hmm.
So I was fighting attempted murder.
Okay.
All that shit, and that just sucks. That doesn't put you in normal county jail.
No,
That,
fuck no.
that puts you in,
That's in the big house right there.
yeah, that puts you away for a long, long time.
Hmm.
So I mean, I was looking at 35 to life for the first time ever being arrested. Yeah,
Man, man, man.
I'd never been arrested before. I Well, yeah, I guess I could say I was, but I wasn't. I mean, I got a DUI when I was 21,
Yeah.
and I
Okay.
literally was at .08. I was literally just at the level of being drunk. I nursed the beer, and finished it as we left, and the cop was a rookie cop, and he got me for that.
Okay.
So I mean, it literally like I wasn't drunk, but I was, kind of thing.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, dude, it was crazy.
Damn.
I sat it total from start to finish. It was probably, I want to say, almost 12 years.
12-year stretch.
Yeah, because
Oh,
I did 2.5 years fighting my case, and
okay.
then I got, instead of going to prison, I got to go to a 2-year program,
Okay.
Delancey Street. I did that, and when I got out of that, everything was supposed to be scratched. Well, my judge wasn't on the bench no more, and I got a different judge, and he didn't know the logistics of my case, and he literally gave me like 10 years of high control parole and all this shit.
Hmm.
I mean, just something like out of control. Like, and I was supposed to be, if you finish Delancey Street, which is like the hardest program around, like you come out of there fucking with no tail or nothing. You come out clean as can be,
Okay.
you know?
Hmm.
And to come out of there and have 10 years over my head was crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then I had my parole agent hated me, or she didn't hate me. She loved me. She wanted me to be with her, and I couldn't.
Hmm.
Like, she's a cop. There's no way I'm dating a cop.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so since I wouldn't date a cop, she had me rolled up every other week. So every other week she had me back in county, violating me for something stupid. I
Hmm.
mean, literally, like I would come home from work and I'd be eating like Starburst or something on the way home, and she would get me saying I was dirty because she swabbed me and stuff. Say I was dirty because the swab would turn pink or something because I was eating the candy.
Okay.
And so I'd be in there for 2 weeks until the judge could see me. And then the judge would see me and he'd like OR me, like, get out of here. This is stupid.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I need a different PO. I said, this PO is just every other week that I'm out and it's getting me like this. I said, I can't have a job. I can't do nothing.
Yeah.
And finally, the judge goes, you know what? I'm tired of seeing you. I'm going to put you back in your cell and we're going to, see what we have to do with you, to get this squared away. The fucker forgot about me and left me in there for 2.5 years again. So I had another 2.5 years in county, just sitting there, just twiddling my thumbs for
Yeah.
no reason. I literally was in there for a violation, which for me max was 120 days.
Hmm.
I should have been in there 120 days instead of in there 2.5 years.
Okay.
And they take me back to court, and the judge was sitting there trying to figure out, well, why is he here? And the DA is like, Judge, don't you remember he completed Delancey Street? Because the judge that I first had came back onto the bench, and he completed Delancey Street. He's not even supposed to be here. And the DA like stepped up for on my behalf, which was crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and told the judge everything that has gone on. Dude, I had done so much more time than what I was supposed to. It was crazy.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And
Wow.
so the judge goes, okay, what I'm going to do, Mr. Healy, is I have to send you upstate. So when you come out of upstate, you come out on parole instead of probation. They
Okay.
get you away from county bullshit. Um, he goes, basically, with all the time you've done everything, he goes, the only thing I'm going to hold over your head, he goes, we're retrying your case and we're dropping attempted murder, all that crap. Because the only thing that we can hold over you is kidnapping.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, basically, kidnapping holds like a minimum of 14 years. And he goes, with all the credit you have and everything like that, he goes, you're only going to do, like a month and a half or something like that upstate.
Okay.
He goes, basically, when you leave here today, your name's going to go on the for the catching the chain to go upstate. And he's all, you're going to do like a month and a half up there. And then we're going to roll you out and send you home.
Okay.
When you come home, you'll do parole for 6 months or whatever, and have a nice life. I'm like, I can do that. All right, after all the other bullshit I've been through, that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was the end of it right there. So, but
Damn.
yeah, it went on and on and on and on forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get home, and every chat room you can imagine, every motorcycle chat room out there, there was at least one or two people that was just straight talking shit on me. But
Really?
some fucking Joe Billy Bob fucking, no wheelie fucking talking shit. Fucking Healy's such a piece of shit.
Mm.
You don't even know me.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, fuck, I'll give you my address right now if you think you know me. You want to come over and talk to me? I said, fuck, get away from your computer and come talk to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Man,
I'm
it's
just
just
like, and I was scared at first to even go out of my house,
okay.
because I'm I'm a two striker now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a convicted felon, two strikes, and basically, what I learned was I can't do nothing. I can't say nothing. I can't do nothing,
Yeah.
because unless they do it first.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody fucking jumps at me and swings at me, then I can go for the fences, no problem.
Yeah. Well.
But I cannot be the one that swings first.
Yeah.
I can't push the issue. I can't antagonize the guy or whatever. Nothing like that. But if he comes at me first and swings first, I can finish it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, man.
So
It's
and
crazy how. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm at that age now and shit that is so far behind me that I don't want to fight no more. I don't want to do any of that shit no more. That's stupid. That's kid shit. I
Yeah.
got a daughter that's 27 years old now.
Yeah.
And she's
Yeah.
my best friend in the world. And
There you go.
all I want to do is hang out with my kid and my family and stuff. And you know, I don't want to be doing that stupid shit no more. I'm not a punk kid no more.
Exactly, exactly, man. You had a wild ride, man, in life, and like I said, man, you don't really know what's going on with people behind certain. I mean, I had a lot of friends who are on and off drugs, and the type of neighborhood that I grew up in. If you know anything about the city of Pomona, then you already know
Oh
what the
yeah.
situations were about in that city.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, I've never been the one to discriminate because I've been around all that shit, my whole
Yeah.
life, so
Yeah.
my hat goes off to you because you reinformed yourself, you reformed yourself, and you had to make a whole nother transition, not just from racing motocross to getting back into the normal world, but then you ended up, serving, doing a lot of jail time, and then you have to transition again, back into the normal world once again. And then even within that time period, shit has changed. So
Oh yeah.
it's a lot of adjusting that you have to make, man, and you made it. And like you were saying, dude, like you're old enough to the point where you just want to spend time with your daughter, and all that bullshit is left behind, man, and you can just live out the rest of your life peacefully and happily, man.
Exactly. I had a lot of time to just sit there and just think about things in life that are important. And the petty shit that put me where I was is definitely not worth it. I mean, everything I threw away, you know, a lifelong careers and all this stuff and houses and marriages and all that shit that I just threw it away for what? Why? What was it? What I get out of it?
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
it's just crazy. I mean, and that's like, when I first came home, um, I had a couple of students that I was training that were now pros. Um, they weren't Supercross pros, but they're like local pros,
Mm-hmm.
and they invited me to go to like A1 with them, and I was fucking paranoid. I was so afraid to go to A1 that year
Mm-hmm.
because I knew being a convicted felon and two striker and all that stuff, and reading all these chat room shit, um, that anybody out of the blue has the right to walk up to me and get in my face and say something.
Yeah. Well.
And they have the right to do that. That's their right. Their First Amendment or whatever it is. They have that right to do it. And all I can do is
Yeah.
bite my lip and tell the person have a nice day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that
And
seems to
that's the
hurt.
best
That
thing
seems
to
to
do.
hurt them
That's the
more.
best thing to do, right? I mean,
And that
you
seems to
go
hurt
out to
them
that
more
same one.
because like, you just tell them to have a nice day.
Yeah.
Dude, you're right. Have a nice day, man. I am a piece of shit. Fuck you.
Yeah, yeah, and,
Right?
and then you're gonna at the same time you're gonna have those guys who don't judge you like myself and who
Yeah.
appreciate what you have accomplished and what you've done. So at the same time you're gonna have those lovers and you're gonna have those haters. You got to
Yeah.
mix the good with the bad. But man, just go to A1 and have just go there and
Well,
enjoy yourself.
that's what I was getting at was when I was sitting there, I decided to go and stuff because I wanted to be with these kids. They were call them kids at the time. They were 19, 20 years old. And we sat down at A1 and I just remember the two guys wanting to talk about
Hmm.
like the gangs in there and the jailhouse fights and all that shit
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
bullshit that goes on inside there.
hmm,
Just the politicking and all that stuff.
yeah, yeah,
And I wanted to know about how you classify yourself. How do the white guys classify themselves? Would I go in there and be a skinhead, or would I be a wood, or this or that?
yeah,
And
yeah,
I said, dude, you are middle of the road fucking white person. You're part of the wood pile. You're
yeah,
nothing. You're a
hmm,
shadow on the wall. I said, you keep your mouth shut, your eyes open, and keep your back to the wall, and you'll be fine. I said, but that's the last thing you need to even talk about or worry about. I
yeah,
said, you wanting to talk to me about the fights and all that shit pissed me off. I said, that's the worst thing you could ask me about going to prison and jail and all that stuff. You should ask me how to stay away from going there and away from doing all
hmm,
that stuff. I said, I'm a 50-something-year-old man that just did, 7 or 8 years in prison, threw away my
yeah,
life,
well,
over drugs and stuff. I said, I'm embarrassed of myself.
hmm,
I said, you guys should be embarrassed of me too. I said, I had it all going together and stuff and all this, and I just threw it away because of the drugs. And I just let it get out of my hands, they just got away. I said, you guys know that's not me. I've never acted that way, never did anything like that. It was the drugs that took over on me. And like the kids, they got up and went to go, grab something to eat from the snack bar. And there was two ladies that were sitting across the aisle from me that came over and thanked me for talking to them because they couldn't believe that these two kids, all they wanted to know about prison was the fighting and stuff like that.
yeah, well, yeah,
And when I told them that they were dumb for even thinking that way, they're like, man, I just want to know we're proud of you. And
yeah,
these two ladies like shook my hand and patted me on the back and stuff. And I was like, wow, that's cool. That was
yeah,
neat.
well,
So like you said, there's the good and the bad. So, you know, I really got to pick and choose who I'm going to talk to, who I'm going to deal with, and stuff like that.
yeah,
A lot more than I ever had to before.
hmm,
Um, and I can't do the dumb things I used to do. The little road rages and shit like that.
yeah, 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 yeah,
I just can't. You can't do that no more because of just things that can happen to me. It's not worth it.
yeah,
You know,
definitely not,
it's
definitely
my
not.
life now, and I'm going to be greedy about it. I'm not living for anybody else but me now.
Yeah, man. There you go, my man. There you go. That's all you need right now. Keep yourself healthy, keep yourself strong, and stay positive, man. And just put yourself around the same group of people, and you don't
Yeah,
have shit to worry about. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So, But Mike, I want to end this interview up, man. I got to get down there to my little ones, but
Yeah,
I want to thank
please
you for
do.
your
Take care.
time.
Please do. Take care of your kids, man. When you said I got to go pick them up and stuff, I was stoked to hear that. Because I mean,
Awesome.
all my writers used to give me crap when I got married. You know, it was all the crusty days and all that stuff. I was the only one in the whole pack that got married. I was the
Mhm.
only one that had kid, and I'm a happy dad. I love being a dad.
That's
And
what's
if it
up.
wasn't for the drugs, because I mean I've never cheated on my wife or anything like that. Only cheated with drugs.
Hmm.
You know, I love being married. I love that whole life of that. And I mean, if I didn't fuck up, I'd still be married to the same woman and
Yeah.
you know, with my daughter every day and stuff like that. And it was neat to hear you say, hey, you know what? Work will stay away for a little while. I got my kids, they're more important. I was like, yeah, that's what I wanted to hear.
That's what's up,
That did
Mike.
make me very happy. Thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, man. I'll take it as I hear it, man, because coming from you, you've been through a long road your damn self. You know what I'm saying? And I'm proud of what you've become and what you've done over the years, man. And like I said, I'm not a person to judge anybody for what they've gone through in life because I have my own battles that I had to deal with, right?
Yeah.
So, but I want to thank you for your time, man, and you're welcome back anytime. You want to share any of those old stories, man, dude? The door's wide open for you, Mike.
And vice versa. Whenever you want to call, you're more than welcome to.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it, man. Have yourself a good day, brother.
You too. All
All
right.
right. I'll talk to you soon, Mike.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
All right. Bye
All
bye.
right.